But welcome everybody to the Scarred Thumb Podcast. Today we got a lot to talk about, and let's just start off with what you see on screen. Kotaku. Oh, yeah, always hate to see a bad bad video game journalism go away, don't you? But Kotaku might be heading towards the graveyard here because, as you can see from the headline, its editor-in-chief resigns over new editorial edict. Staff at the site will be expected to write 50 guides a week. So that's, what? You got a 5-day work week. You're writing 10 guides a day. That seems a little bit rough. But here, this is from Aftermath. You probably can't see the top. By Geeta Jackson and Riley McLeod. Jen Glennon, who's the editor-in-chief of Kotaku, resigned Thursday. Resolution is seen by Aftermath. Glennon says that she made the choice due to the management team's recent decision to prioritize news in the biggest quotation marks ever seen, in favor of guides. Glennon is the second editor-in-chief since Stefan Toledo's departure in 2001 following Patricia Sanders, who was fired August 2023. Aftermath's co-founder Riley McLeod functioned as interim editor. Consideration, I've concluded the management structure and decision-making process at GO Media are not aligned with my values and goals for Kotaku, Glennon wrote in her resignation letter, which was addressed to the GO Media executives. I firmly believe the decision to invert Kotaku's editorial strategy to deprioritize news in favor of guides is fundamentally misguided. Given the current infrastructure of the site, the decision is directly contradictory with months of traffic data and shows astonishing disregards for the livelihood of the remaining writers and editors who work there. Then it also announced her resignation on Twitter. I resigned from Kotaku, and Jim Spanfelder is an herb. According to sources close to the situation, Kotaku will be expected to create 50 guides per week at the site. Currently, Kotaku's homepage features a prominent game tips and guides module at the top of the page in space, which previously reserved for major stories and breaking news, like white people are racist. Staff members have criticized the homepage redesign on social media, knowing that Kotaku's major source of traffic is not guides. So, this is since the Greater Hills acquisition, the site known as Gizmodo Media in 2019. The overall portfolio has declined in traffic as well as exodus of editorial leadership staff. Co-founders Aftermath include, some of these guys that Aftermath were Kotaku writers, and they're just talking about the sale of Deadspin. Look at all these things. Most recently, Spanfield announced the sale of Deadspin, awful site, layoff of all staff working there. Paste brought former GO media site Jezebel. This is just the trash, the actual garbage can of media here. Following the site's closure of all staff, former GO site Lifehacker was sold to Ziff Davis. So rest in peace, Kotaku. But this was, people were criticizing the whole switch to guides. But I'll link this in the clip when I make it. And hey, good morning, Jack. Good to see you. But this was by Upper Echelon. Let me see what Kotaku just died, sort of, where they go into.
It is incredibly simple and merely showcases the location of 5 pieces of writing, I think, from back then.
And this is like a video where he shows the revenue that he's making just from guides. And some of the stuff is just outrageous. Like this total all revenue. He's saying this is probably an hour worth of work. Just a simple... But, it's generated him almost $3,000 worth of revenue. So, and this is what Upper Echelon used to do for the latest, video game releases, say Dragon's Dogma, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But look at that cash that he's making. And he showed some of the other stuff, this vampire hunting. He shows, Frostpunk, making about $600. But showing that, guides and tips aren't a bad way to go for this site. There's essentially the argument he's making here is that the idea that strictly speaking to guides and tips is a legitimate decision by the management over at Kotaku, or the people that own Kotaku. I know that's Gizmodo Media. So what they're doing isn't necessarily a bad decision, though he later kind of goes on to the idea that if you're going to have them write 50 guides a week, basically at that point, which is an insane amount of guides, the only thing they're going to be able to do is to plagiarize or, just sort of copy other things, other sites. And I mean, the other thing, like, I don't like about it is, like, if you go into, like, guides and, like, a lot of the times when I'm just want to look up something for, like, just find some information, you have all of these things on here. Like, IGN has their own guide on the moons. The Gamer, like, all these sites always show up in the SEO. Then you might have, some actual guides in YouTube. Reddit usually has some pretty good information. Like, sometimes I just want to find, like, some sort of material for, like, Monster Hunter Rise that I'm missing. And then, like, you got, like, a million of these things on the first page. Game Leap, Games Radar, Game Rant. The wikis are probably actually a good source of information. Game 8. Like, if you go into these places, they're just full of crap. These long articles, they almost all say the same exact thing. It's like they just copied each other and pasted it onto their site. Again, there's another gamer. The gamer showed up like twice here. Every Moon Explained, like, and this is one of the reasons that Google is so garbage now. Like, you want to look like some simple information for Google, all that shows up, like, boom, experimentation level guy. Like, IGN has already shown up twice here. You want to make you just want some simple information about a moon and Lethal Company, or like it's just an item in Monster Hunter. You're just flooded with all of this crap right now, or over here in Google, and it's really made finding information on video games incredibly difficult. So, like, I'm glad Kotaku's not going to be writing the millionth "Why White Men Are Bad" article, but at the same time, trashing up Google with this spam garbage also doesn't make me happy. I'd wish they just go away, to be honest. And I wish this stuff would go away. I don't know what Google can do to change its algorithm, but I'm so sick of seeing all these trash articles that usually are just copy pasted. It's ridiculous. This was George Broussard, co-founder of 3D Realms, just kind of talking about, I think, said some pretty interesting stuff about Kotaku. Apparently, Kotaku's melting down. I haven't regularly visited Kotaku or other large gaming sites in over a decade. Can't say I'll be sad to see the current brand of game journalism take a hit. All I want is actual reporting on gaming news, reviews, etc. You can keep the moralizing opinion pieces, the hit pieces, and all of that. Writers are free to create Patreon, Substacks, or YouTube channel for that. If there's a market, they will be successful. Watch for many years of developers I know or companies were dragged through the press in misleading headline, clickbait, and hit pieces. The misquoting and cherry picking of quotes for clicks was often talked about in the game developer circles. Somewhere in the 2000s, the press became the actual active enemy of game developers and someone to avoid or only talk to if you have something that's a PR vessel or for the company. A far cry from Gaming Pest in the 90s, which I think kind of corresponds to when women really started getting into games press. One can only hope that the winds of change are coming, but I suspect this is a more momentary speed bump. We shall see. And yeah, I think it is a speed bump because I think ultimately the press is owned by left-wing liberal. It's a left-wing liberal space, so it's going to continue to be sort of enemy of just sort of normal, fun entertainment. So the content, Silver Bishop, how's it going, man? So the content that people find useful makes money instead of activism. No way. Yeah, it's amazing. The last time the internet wasn't full of useless trash was only when nerds use it, which might have been before 2000. Yeah, that's actually a good point. And that's the thing is a lot of these guides, people will watch them. The top 5 tips, 5 guides, moving guides. People just, click on it, just try and find the first thing. Oh, here we go. So, I mean, there's definitely clicks to be gained there. It is what it is, unfortunately, right now. But, man, it does suck to just want some simple piece of information and not be able to find it. I usually have to, put in Reddit along with my results, because at least Reddit, as lame as that place could be, still has, these sort of autistic nerds that are very strict about what they consider the correct information.